Because if we all know Rune Factory, you always have amnesia. And you always have a girl willing to give you a watering can and a hoe. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Vita Luca, and today we are going to be ranking all of the Rune Factory games. All from 1 to 5 with Tides of Destiny and Frontier. Because I've played all of these games. I know everything about them. Just kidding. I probably don't. But I have played all of them. And so we're also doing something extra unique where we are ranking them on categories that I made up about the biggest reveals of the game. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, we have the categories. So we have body snatching, because I think that was the biggest reveal that we've ever had from any of the games. To daddy issues. Not that the character has daddy issues, but, well, I wouldn't blame them if they did. One person becoming two, and then potentially going back to one person, depending how you played the game. But, Ethelbert being, it's him again. And you have amnesia. Because if we all know Rune Factory, you always have amnesia. And you always have a girl willing to give you a watering can and a hoe. Of course, the farming tool. To start off, let's rank my Rune Factory favorites, just so you can see where my biases lie and which games that I prefer the most. And that could be like your intro to Rune Factory. So, Rune Factory 4 is my absolute favorite. Can you beat this game relatively quickly? Yes, but I love it so much. I love the characters. I love their quirks. They're so good. They're so good. Love this game. And your child in the game is like best kid in the world. I love her as if she was my own kid. This is the game that I'm actively playing now, and I love it. I found like this new thing for it. It has so many things that you can do outside of just farming. You have a Rune system to manage. You have like 4 dungeons to go to and fight. Like there's just so many things, and they have like intricate character things where you can bring up all the characters up to certain levels and have little events with them. It just adds so much oomph to the story. You like learn about the town being created. It just has so much content, and I love it. I love it. I'm living for it. Tides of Destiny. So this one is also my favorite because I've played so many hours into it. I can't go back now and play it because like the controls are just insane. But like the story is so unique. It has many different places that you can go to. It has like an entirely like unique system to it, and I absolutely love it. I love it. I love the characters as well. I love their designs. I love it so much. It's just, I think it's really good. You like learn the entire story. There's so much going on. I love it. Then we have Rune Factory 1. Which, of course, this was the initial game, right? Though I had to replay it as an adult last year, and I loved how long it took me to actually play the game. I didn't, like, speed run it at all or anything. I, like, took the time to beat the places, improve my skills, and then go back and just wipe everything out as quickly as I could after. It was just, it's so good. The only thing, like, for the first initial release, like, it's a really great game. It is a really good game. I was surprised. It does kind of suck because you can only talk to the characters like once a day. Honestly, my marriage felt more like a transaction than anything else. Like I felt like there wasn't a lot of love there. Though, of course, I wanted to try to get the baby. And the baby takes a really long time to come. And I was like, I need that to kind of happen ASAP. Otherwise, I'm never going to see it. And I'm just never going to see it. It didn't come by the time I beat the game. So I was like, oh, well. People just found like the baby to be a bonus thing anyways, and that it didn't really matter or do anything. So I don't really care. But yeah, my marriage in that game definitely felt like a transaction. And then in Rune Factory Frontier, didn't end up marrying the same person either, even though it's like the direct sequel. And she didn't even act like we were married, so married somebody else. Then we have Rune Factory 2. Rune Factory 2 is very special and very dear to my heart, but I was playing it as like a 10-year-old, and it did pull on my heartstrings a lot and like wrecked me for like 2 weeks. I was so sad about what happened in this game. But I have a deep, deep love for it. I also probably spent more than 100 plus hours before I even beat the game in it. I played that game for like 3 years in it before even beating it, at least 3 years, if not more. But I really loved the characters. I loved absolutely everybody in that game. It is so good. And I love how even as you're playing as a child, you can still like get married. But like you can literally marry any of them, all of them. Like, I love it. I love it. I'm ranking it lower because the combat isn't as good and the graphics aren't as good because it's also like the initial release, right? But it has a special place in my heart. And then next is Rune Factory 5. If I would have a tier in between, I would add one for this. Because I still think Rune Factory 2 is way better than Rune Factory 5. But like, I like Rune Factory 5's graphics. I like its aesthetics. I like the openness of it. But it's not the best Rune Factory game. Like, definitely not the best. But I do like the fighting a lot more in this one. And it's decent. Like, it's a decent Rune Factory game. I hate the story so much. There's so much to do. It's so long, but it also happens so quickly. You don't get a freaking break from the story. Like, you get a 3-day gameplay break when you quit Seed, and that's it. The rest is like, you have all this storyline to like beat and finish until you do. And I don't want that. I want just like chill, relax, let me do the story when I want to do the story. Rune Factory 5, to me, it was like, you need to save the world or it's the end, everybody's gonna die. Even of course, that's not gonna happen. But it was like just constant. You'd go back to Liv and she'd be like, oh, this is happening over here, you need to go there. Or, oh, you need to go talk to these people because this is happening. And now you're gonna get into here and you need to find this, you need to do that. And I'm just like, oh, can't I get a break? Can't I get a break where I don't have something happening on the map? And that's why I don't like it. I was like, oh, I don't normally have anxiety, but playing that game, I definitely do. Rune Factory 3 is my least favorite because they have a storyline that's completely redundant, and I don't like it because of that. Though I do like its uniqueness, as in you also get to be a monster. It's basically the first time that fists were involved, which fists is my favorite fighting style. So I do really like the game as a game, and as that, I don't like the story, and that's why I ranked it so low. But I will be playing Rune Factory 3 Special when it comes out, like 110%. I will be playing it, but in that game, I will definitely be choosing the one person that totally makes that storyline redundant, and I'll see if it still happens. If it doesn't happen, I will have an entirely different opinion of this game, and I will come back and re-rank them. But if it does happen, what I say stands. Please hug the subscribe button like you would a Woolly or a Chipsqueak, because I know I really want to hug them, even though like they can absolutely kill you. But like, just give it a nice big squeeze. Ranking the entire storyline based on how good and unique I think it is. Personally, my favorite is Tides of Destiny or Oceans. I don't want to make any spoilers throughout this, so I'm going to give like a very base level. This one to me is the most unique out of all of them, as they don't have many of the basic elements that the other games do. This one has, you're on an island. You have to travel to different islands. It's like an entirely different thing. Majority of them, you have boss dragons. This one is completely different. I really enjoyed it. I played more than 100 hours in order to beat the game. Though I was a child, so I probably could beat it faster now. But as a kid, I really invested a lot of time into that game, even before I beat the story. And that's another thing that I think makes the storyline better, is if it takes you longer than 2 weeks to beat the game, I think that that's a good storyline itself. Like, how long is the storyline? How long does it take you to actually do it? Versus you can beat the game in a week, the storyline is 20 hours long, kind of sucks. So my next favorite one would be Rune Factory 2. Why? Again, really long storyline. You get to play as 2 characters, and this is your first iteration where you can play as a girl. which I also thought was really unique. Though this game did wreck me. And it's funny that it's in Daddy Issues, because it's the one with the daddy issues. That game wrecked me. And I loved it. Then Rune Factory 1 would be my second favorite, because you literally have to play until winter in that game. And the storyline is actually really good for being the first iteration of the game. Part of me wants to say it's kind of the best. Because like that one, everything kind of makes sense with like how things are working, how things are happening. Whereas all the rest after that, they all like are like in their own world. But like in Rune Factory 1, the monsters come out of a portal that was man-made. Whereas all the other ones are like portals that are just there producing monsters. So to me, I'm like, it kind of makes the most sense. Like, why would you have monsters all of a sudden again? And many of the other games used to state like monsters used to live with them peacefully. So I like that one the best, because it's like, yes, the monsters are here because someone's putting them here. And then another good iteration after that is Frontier, which is also the first one's like direct sequel. For me, Rune Factory Frontier, this is the one that I'm recently playing, and I love it so much. Could not beat it as a child, but I beat it now, just like a few months ago, and I absolutely love it. The storyline is more unique than the rest to come. The bad guy kind of has a purpose as to why he's doing what he's doing. And it has so many things outside of the main story that like they have so many like side stories that you can do. You can find out more about how the town was created, more about like why certain villages are there. Now, after this, I'm placing Rune Factory 5. Might be controversial, I'm not sure, but the thing that I like about Rune Factory 5's story is A, you probably have the most boss battles in it, even though that is a pet peeve of mine too, of how many boss battles you've had to fight in that game. It does only take like 2 weeks to beat in like real life, or less. I'm sure you could beat it in less time than that. You can beat the game up to the summer, so it does kind of suck at that point for that reason. But I do like how it had some unique things to the storyline. So yes, you did have to fight a boss dragon at some point, a boss elemental dragon, but you know, it has like an entirely different system. Like you are part of Seed. You do requests for that reason, instead of it just being like villagers just giving you requests because they just do. Though also I'm going to put Rune Factory 4 next to Rune Factory 5 because it is also very similar to each other. As in, it has a different premise, but also kind of the same premise. So, Rune Factory 4, you fall out of the sky and then you end up becoming a prince or princess. And then, of course, villagers give you requests based on that because you are the prince or princess. And then you have to, like, save your town and you have to fight an elemental dragon. And Ethelberg is back. So, I think that fits very well. It's also in the category from, you know, why that category even exists. So yeah, these storylines, they're just all, you end up with amnesia in a town, and now you have to go and save that town from something, and you fight an elemental dragon, which was the premise of the first one. So basically, Rune Factory 5, 4, 3 are kind of all around the same premise. 2 also does fit in, but it's a little bit different in the why you have to fight the elemental dragon, whereas all the other ones are kind of like, no, you just do. So I'm putting Rune Factory 3 in, you have amnesia, just because it is very much the same to like Rune Factory 1, 4, 5. The only cool thing about Rune Factory 3 is you get to be a monster. So that's like its unique thing that's going for, but of course you can only play as a man, and you're a monster, you have to save your village. But Rune Factory 3, the reason why I'm rating it so low is because it has a portion of its storyline that is completely redundant if you marry 4 out of the 8 bachelorettes. So that's why I'm ranking it so low, because it literally has a portion of its story that it forces you to do that is absolutely redundant if you married 4 out of the 8 Bachelorette. I will leave the spoilers to all of the games in the comments below, and you can read them if you choose to know what the spoilers are. And so I can talk about Rune Factory 3 and what you can expect out of Special, and then you can base who you want to marry off of that. Because if it was like maybe 1 or 2, that would just make that portion redundant. But you literally have a 50-50 chance of making that portion of the story completely redundant. Okay, so now that we've cleared the board, we are going to be ranking them based off of the resolution of that storyline. And this, I mean, like, you get all of your questions answered. There's nothing remaining. Like, you have the answers to everything. You know why you have amnesia. You know why you're in that town. You know how you were brought to that town. All of these things, it's like, woo, once you finish the story, you're like, oh, everything makes sense. Okay, that's what we're going for. In this situation, 2 gets to take the cake. You can literally, I don't want to spoil it, but you can fully resolve that entire storyline. Absolutely. If you just complete the entire storyline, you learn everything. Then it will be 4. Because yes, you get a full resolution. You know why you were going to the town. You know how you got there. You know how you lost your memory. Because that actually kind of makes sense how you lost your memory. Like, it was a big fall. And you beat the bad guy. Everything is done. Everything goes back to normal. You even resolve some side storylines with other characters just going through the main story. So yes, everything makes sense when you're done with that game. Then the next one would be Rune Factory 1. Does the character learn everything? No. But you as the player do. You know why he was brought there. You know who he is. You know everything about him when you were done that game. But does he? No. And that sets up Rune Factory Frontier quite nicely, because he still has his amnesia. He still doesn't know who he is. But you do. You do. Then we have Tides of Destiny. Tides of Destiny, you know why they were brought there. You know what ended up happening. You can find that out, how they ended up melding into one person. I think that's something that's very clear in this game, that they are the person. Well, that's not that reason, but I guess it fits them too. One person becoming 2, because there were also 2 people who became 1. So yeah, it even fits for them as well. See, cool things happen in Rune Factory games. That's why I love them so much. But yeah, they fit this category quite nicely. But you know why they became 1. You know how they became 2. You can learn all of that. The only reason why I rank them so low is because you never know who the masked man is. You don't know who the bad guy is. He's just some dude. And part of me thought maybe he's Ethelbert again, after you killed him in Rune Factory 4. But then the timeline does not make sense with that at all. So that's not how it goes. For the most part, these games pretty much go in order. So you have Rune Factory 1, then Rune Factory Frontier and Tides of Destiny 2, 3, 4, 5. They all play in order after that. The 2 games for the Wii, they're basically coinciding with each other. It is what it is. I wish, though, that it was Ethelbert after you defeated him in Rune Factory 4 from the Forest of Beginnings. He's trying to snatch a body so that he could come back and take over the world again. But maybe in an alternate timeline, that's exactly what he's doing. Who knows? Then we also have Frontier. Frontier also, pretty much, you get a nice resolution. You know why he's doing what he's doing. You know, you basically defeat him. And yeah, then it's kind of done. But you do, my only thing with Frontier is you're kind of just going off and fighting 2 monsters without even knowing about the bad guy. So that's where I'm kind of it kind of sucks. And you don't need to beat all of the bosses in order to beat the bad guy in the first place. So that's also kind of why I just ranked it low. I was like, the story could have had some more oomph, and the resolution could have been a little bit better, because basically you just fight him and then he's gone. And you don't even know why Mist brought you to that town, but I'm pretty sure if you try to woo her, maybe you'll find out. I'm not at that point yet, so maybe. But, yeah, for me, the resolution wasn't the best. It would have been nice if you, found out who he was and got his memories back, but like, no, that didn't happen either. Then I am ranking 5, and that's simply because they don't get their memories back. You don't know why they were there. You have nothing. You get absolutely nothing. You beat the bad guy, and you don't know anything. You don't know anything about your character, and maybe you have to find it out by dating around and whatever. I'm literally trying to marry everybody in that game, and I still don't know why my character was even brought there in the first place. How did a portal end up opening up and your character stepping through and ended up in that town? Where did my character come from? These are things that are resolved in Tides of Destiny, and that's, again, very same premise. They also got, like, brought into a whole new place. Rune Factory 5, they get brought into a whole new place, but I don't know why they have amnesia. I don't know anything about them. I was hoping that one day they would just get their memories back and they would know, but no, so far I haven't had that resolve, and so that's why they're ranked so low. And Rune Factory 3, again, it's just because of the redundant storyline, though this one does have resolution to it. So I'm going to just boost them up a little bit. They'll go into Ethelbert because they are still better than Rune Factory 5. Though, again, the redundant story, that doesn't need to happen if you marry literally 4 of the bachelorettes. So, part of me is just like, how could there be resolution when like part of it is just trash? And of course, they're probably not going to fix that in time. If they did, then their rankings are going to like go up way higher, because I do love that game. It was my first Rune Factory game that I was ever able to beat. I could beat it as a child. So that's also why I ranked it low, because it's easy. So now we're going to rank everything based off of combat. Of course we want to rank off of combat. Like, these are farming and fighting games. So yes, which ones have the best combat? And of course, that one is, I'm sorry to say this, but it is Rune Factory 5. I'm sorry, it's got the best use of weapons. It has the nicest, like, feel. It has the smoothness to it. To me, the fighting in it is, like, so amazing. And, like, all of the mechanics actually work. Like, when you get, like, that super strong sword or, like, weapon, you can, like, one-hit kill things. I love that. There are definitely Rune Factory games where even if you have the best weapon, you still can't one-hit kill things. So yes, that is why Rune Factory 5 takes the cake. They have a like huge range that you can choose from that you love. Personally, my favorite is fists and dual blades. So of course, the games that have those are going to rank higher than the games that don't. But also the fighting mechanics are so smooth. It has like really cool graphics. When you are fighting with fists, you can jump up and like kick things. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like so freaking awesome. I cannot wait to have a child in that game. I'm going to do what I did in Rune Factory 4 and give my kid like the best weapons. So it's just like one hit killing things as like a 5-year-old. Like, yeah, you see how pumped I am? That's why. Then of course, next one, Rune Factory 4, because that is the game where I do have my child with the highest fist level item, and she's just like one hit killing like giants. So yeah, love it. I love the fighting mechanics of Rune Factory 4. So good. It is so good. But I like Rune Factory 5's graphics plus those fighting mechanics. That's what makes it like the best, the cherry on top. So then I'm going to then put Tides of Destiny, because for them, they have really good, they have the aesthetics that I love. They have the dual blades that I love. This is the game that I fell in love with dual blades. But I did replay it recently and I realized, oh, you can't one-hit kill anything. Like, I have the best dual blades that you can possibly have. I went to islands that aren't even that hard. And like the monsters would literally hit me and do 1 HP point off of me. Or even nothing. And like, I still had to hit them like 15 times. And I even noticed, I was like, when I was actually using the dual blades, it was only doing like 75 to the monster that I was using it on. And I'm like, why isn't this like doing way more damage? It's the best dual blade. Maybe that's because of the element type. I'm not sure. But I was expecting more from this. So that's why I'm ranking them lower. Because they do have what I love and what I fell in love with. But I just realized there's just some issue there that just doesn't make sense. And then we are going with 3. We're gonna tie Tides of Destiny and 3 together. 3 was the first introduction of fists. You fight with your fist as a monster. I love fist fighting. I love it. I love seeing this person just be able to knock out a troll or a giant, something massive in comparison, and they're just boom, done, KO'd. Love that. Love that so much. So yes, I'm ranking Rune Factory 3 higher in the fighting aspects because for when it was released, it probably has the best fighting mechanics for when it was released. Frontier is next. Frontier has some good fighting mechanics. They have some things that I just don't like. I'm not a huge fan of how you use the sword in the game. It's decent. I did notice that this is the one game where you have to use more magic. And honestly, your weapon type makes an entire difference as to what you are fighting, as to whether or not you'll win. And that's why magic is the one thing in this game. And I'm not a huge fan of using magic. And I made the best sword. And it did nothing, in comparison to just using my staff. And even you could have the best staff. And literally, the first one that you get gifted does way more damage. So yeah, it has some flaws. And that's what I don't really like. But as long as you know which weapon to use with what you are fighting, everything goes smoothly. But I'm just I have Dragon Slayer. Why can't I just use it to slay the snake? What the heck is the point in having this? But no, my little wand that I made with iron and a fire crystal is doing way more damage. And I'm taking way less damage because I don't have to be near the snake in order to hit it. What? But yeah, it's the way that the game works. And that's why I'm ranking it low. Because I'm just some of this don't make sense. It doesn't add up. Just doesn't add up. You just take what you get gifted because what you get gifted is how you're going to kill the thing. It is what it is. We're going to do Rune Factory 2. Because Rune Factory 2, it is the second iteration of the game. It is. And Rune Factory 1. These two, they're going to have the reasons as to why they are the lowest in this section. Is because they are the first initial game. They have a limit as to how many times you can use your weapon. So in Rune Factory 1, your best item that you get has I think the best one that you need in that game is Heaven Asunder, which is way more damage than anything else, in my opinion. With it, you get 6 hits. So that means you can spam your button 6 times, and then he will swing it 6 times. Then he has to stop and rest, and then you can do the 6 again. So other weapons have less than that, and you literally have some that just do 2. So all you can do is that. Those are your 2 moves. It makes combat so much more difficult when you're using low-leveled items because you don't get to hit it as often and you have to take a slight pause before you can start going again. To me, that was so annoying. I was oh, this actually makes it so much more challenging. And that's the reason why I could never beat it as a kid, because I'm someone who just spams the button anyways. So that's why I like Rune Factory 5. I can just spam the button and it just does things, and it does different things. And then you could put on items and whatever to get special attacks and whatnot. So I just like it. And also, you don't even use RP when fighting unless you do a special attack. So I'm yes, Rune Factory 5, let's go. All the other ones, you're using RP while you are fighting. And so yeah, Rune Factory 1 and 2, they have that system. That's why I don't like them. It makes the game so much harder to fight anything. And honestly, I am so surprised that I got as far as I did as a child with Rune Factory 2 in that fighting style. But yeah, they have special places in my heart, but combat's not my favorite thing to do in them. And now we're gonna move on to farming, the next biggest thing that you can do in Rune Factory. It is literally a fantasy Harvest Moon. Whole reason why I bought the game was because it said Harvest Moon on it. That's how I got into this series, and that's how I got addicted to it, because it said Harvest Moon, and I absolutely loved Harvest Moon as a kid, though I was not expecting fighting monsters as an 8-year-old. when it first came out. So it was very difficult. But then I still kept on going and I kept buying into all the games in the series, and so I have all of them. Who do I think has the best farming? And might be controversial, but it's Rune Factory 5. I am sorry, but I am also not sorry. Honestly, I love the ability to just press A and keep going in a row, and I don't need to use a special skill to water all of my crops like you have to do in every other Rune Factory game. You have to use special skills if you want to be able to water all of your crops in one go. Otherwise, you're going to be there all day. But literally, Rune Factory 5, you can do farming without using your RP if you just put on a fluffy scarf and you just push A. It is so much faster than just using a special skill to like water all of your crops. So yeah, I love it. I wish all the other Rune Factories had that ability to just do this and you're going in a row watering everything that you need to water or harvesting everything that you need to harvest. I'm sorry, so much less time consuming. I don't even have to use my monsters. Rune Factory 4, I have to use my monsters so much to do the watering for me because I don't have time in my day to do that, nor do I want to spend my RP doing that when I can just have them do it. So yeah, I use them, but Rune Factory 5, I don't need to. I can do it so seamlessly. I can do all the farming myself and still have adequate time and RP left in the day to be doing other things. So I love it. I love that so much. That's why it's my favorite. Sorry, not sorry. Then my next favorite one is Frontier, for like an entirely different reason. In Frontier, you have the Rune system. You have a system that you can manipulate to get crops faster. I love it. I love it so much. It is such a good system. And like, you know, that's the one where you have to do things a little bit more like slower and whatever, you know, you got to dig everything yourself. You can't just like spam A. No, you got to move and like get your square in or use the special skills. That's what I'm calling them, the power up, in order to be able to do more area. The only thing that I don't like about Rune Factory Frontier is that your field and the best watering can you can have doesn't equally water your entire field. You're left with an entire row that gets missed, so you have to keep using more RP for that. That's what I don't like about it, especially when the crops on your farms don't produce rune stones. They only produce runies. So it's like, I'm using actual energy to get these and I'm not really getting my RP back in return. That's like, if you want a good farming system where you get like some decent graphics, it's like, it's an old game. But like, if you like the aesthetics that you kind of get in Rune Factory 5, this is like a very older version of that, but you get the raw farming thing. It's not just top down looking at it like all the other games are. This is like, it's like you're doing it yourself, especially when you have the Wii remote and you can actually do it yourself if you turn that on. I personally don't use it because I always ended up doing something I didn't want to do because I move around a lot when I'm playing games. But yes, that is the game where it's like, if you want the full farming experience, it's there because you can literally hoe your field with an axe. You can water your crops with your watering can. You can go fishing. You can do it all. It's the Wii. It has a motion sensor. So yes, that to me is like pure, like if you want to do the farming yourself, Rune Factory Frontier. But personally for me, I love Rune Factory 5 because it's just so easy. It's so seamless. I can just be like, yeah, A, keep going, keep going, keep going. Do it all for me. I don't have to lift a finger. Then we have 4. Because 4 is what it is. It's a masterpiece. 4 is a masterpiece. If you like the top-down farming, 4 is your best for farming. Literally. Hands down. You can use your monsters. They do a good job at all the tasks that they do. That's another reason why I don't typically use monsters in 5, because I just don't feel like they're going to end up fully watering everything. I don't trust them like that, but I know my monsters in Rune Factory 4 can do that for me. So I'm like, yes. Use my monsters to do all the watering, and I just do the harvesting and the planting, and then I let them put the seeds in. But yeah, Rune Factory 4 is like great, overall great for farming. And like you have adequate fields that are easily accessible everywhere. It's just perfect. Perfect. You have adequate fields in your own farm and then also in each area where it's like, yes, you can easily teleport to your winter field. You can easily teleport to your summer field. It's just so nice. It is so nice. Rune Factory 3. Rune Factory 3, I think it has very similar farming to Rune Factory 4. But I still think Rune Factory 4 just does it slightly better. But they're very comparable. Very comparable. Though for these two games, you do need to wear appropriate accessories in order to really make your farming experience better. I noticed that if I use ghost shoes, I can't ever focus on anything. I'm moving too quickly. So like, yes, you need to adequately wear stuff for your fields. Which also, I'm pretty sure that's why the accessories are so big, is because you do have accessories specifically meant for when you are farming that will help you farm better. These two games, yeah, you need them. But like I said, Rune Factory 4, just have your monsters do it. Rune Factory 3, I don't remember enough of that game to know if I had my monsters doing anything at all in my fields, or if I was doing it all myself. But I do know that the field system was very comparable. I do remember that. They feel very similar. But of course, I might rank them differently after I play Rune Factory 3 Special. You never know. They might make the system better. Who knows? Then we are placing 2 and 1. These two are basically tied. They are the first editions of farming. They make it a little bit more tedious. Your monsters don't really do much. They can't really cover your entire field. So I'm not like a huge fan of using my monsters in the system. I have done it more so in 2 than I ever did in 1. In 1, I basically just managed my field on my own after a while, because like I made it so that I had crops growing everywhere else, and so I just had to collect the wood and lumber in my own fields. But yeah, Rune Factory 2 and Rune Factory 1, they're the first editions. Farming was the most tedious in them. Everything is the most tedious in them just because the graphics are also so much slower. Like, just for what they were back then, they were great. What they are now in comparison to everything else, they're not that great. But the worst, Rune Factory Ties of Destiny. Why? It's not a true farming experience. Your monsters literally have to do everything for you. All you do is like, you just wave your spirit wand, and then your monsters have to come. They decide what grows there. They water them. They grow them throughout the time. Like, you're not doing anything. You don't even get to pick, really, what you want grown in a specific spot. You just have to, if you need something specifically, you have to then just put the monster out and hope that that's what they're going to grow, because they have like 3 to 4 options that they can end up growing instead for you. And they grow everything. They grow your rocks for mining. They grow your trees for lumber. And again, all of it's random. And then they grow your crops and your flowers. All of it's at random. You have to just pick the monsters and hope that they produce that one thing that you're looking for out of their 4 options. You just have to hope. To me also, I hate the farming experience in that game. I would only have the first 6 hours of the day to progress in the storyline or do anything. And the rest of the time, I spent it farming. It didn't make farming fun. To me, it made farming a lot more tedious. And I'm like, I'd rather be going and progressing the storyline, but also I need money. And so I'd have to be doing, like, I'd have to be farming to get the money, or I'd be spending all my time harvesting wool off of the Verde Island and be harvesting wool in order to get money. And so it's like I'm not progressing in the story at all because I'm spending my time trying to do other things. Just the farming in that one is the worst out of all of the games. It is what it is. It's just bad. So that is everything that I am ranking these games off of in this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please let me know if you want to see another one like this. Definitely when Rune Factory 3 Special comes out for Europe and the US, I will definitely be purchasing it. I will definitely let you know if I feel the same way as I do now about Rune Factory 3 when the special version comes out. And just so you know, personally, I'm not a fan of the special portion anyways, so I'm not going to be really ranking it on that. I've left out special entirely because the special portion just seems like an entirely separate game where you're just working with the spouse that you have, and I did not like that. I wish it was like more events that were incorporated into the game, and I doubt that that's what they're going to do for Rune Factory 3. So with that, I'm not basing anything off of special because the special just, it isn't it for me, and it doesn't compare at all to any of these because they are literally like events that you do with your spouse and your child, and it doesn't pertain at all to the main game that you are playing. So I hope you liked my ranking, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! So YouTube is going to recommend you something here, as well as you can pick from one of my playlists about video games here. So, peace.